Well, some new concerns about the state of al-Qaeda following the raids targeting leaders in Somalia and Libya. Our next guest says the U.S. strategy against al-Qaeda and its offshoot organizations is simply not working. Catherine Zimmerman is a senior analyst for the American Enterprise Institute's Critical Threats Project. Her specialty specializing in al-Qaeda in Africa. Catherine, nice to see you.
Great to be here today.
Why isn't our strategy working?
The Obama administration has defined al-Qaeda to be this problem from 2001, and it's targeting the leadership that was active on 9/11. But the organization today is different, and we need a strategy that starts to counter that. Otherwise, as we've seen, al-Qaeda will continue to be a threat to the United States.
So explain that a little bit more, because what we saw over the weekend is the intent in both scenarios, as we understand it, to capture some of these high-value individuals and to gather intelligence from them. But you say if we kill or capture all of the top guys in al-Qaeda, al-Qaeda will still be stronger than it was 12 years ago. Why? Why is that the way it is, in your opinion?
Getting the top leadership is, of course, important, but what we've seen is that it's not a long-term effect on the organization. It's been able to regroup in areas that it has control. And so we need to start developing a strategy that goes after the mid to lower level operatives, the network on the ground, if you will. And that's how you start to roll back al-Qaeda, which is expanded today across Africa and the Middle East.
What would that look like?
The strategy is going to be something that is actually more global than we've seen today, where it comprehensively applies pressure from Pakistan to, say, Morocco, where al-Qaeda is active, but it's tailored down to the local level and is working with partners on the ground. And of course there are concerns here, but the United States really needs to be looking to defeat the al-Qaeda network on the whole rather than piecemeal.
Let's talk a little bit about that network. Catherine Herridge, in her report just a few minutes ago, played some sound from the State Department saying, listen, al-Qaeda, the core al-Qaeda in Pakistan, it has been affected. That has been a victory for us. But in your research, what is the connection between all of the al-Qaeda groups, whether it's al-Shabaab in Somalia, whether it's groups operating in Libya, and their connection back to Pakistan or vice versa?
The importance of Pakistan is still there. The group there is important. But what we need to remember is that al-Qaeda has changed. Today, the groups are interwoven and connected in ways that they were not connected in 2001. And it's those relationships, the relationships between the group in Yemen, in Somalia, Syria, and Iraq, that makes al-Qaeda so strong and actually really challenging for us to defeat.
So is that social media that's connecting them? Is it fundraising and financing that's connecting them? Are they sharing strategies? What is the connection between the networks? Why do they want to link up?
Some of the connections include leaders who were in Afghanistan together against the Soviets in the 1980s, and also today against fighting the United States in Afghanistan. And then they went home to their home countries, but kept those personal relationships. So there is a human network bridging the gap, but there is also, of course, the shared ideology that's driving these groups toward a global jihad fight against the United States.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about how we're perceived by the enemy, because that certainly matters. As we were watching the video of the neighborhood where the target was captured in Libya, it looks like a nice neighborhood. His address was actually listed on a website. It was all out in public. What does this say? What does this say about how we're being perceived by people that are on our most wanted list, and how they fear or do not fear retribution from the United States?
The United States is certainly very focused on certain individuals, and it's no surprise that al-Qaeda has taken advantage of the breakdown in Libya following the fall of the Gaddafi regime to spread its influence. The concern here is that al-Qaeda will play up some of these events. The failure of the U.S. Navy SEALs to capture the intended target in Somalia, for example, to its advantage, and talk about U.S. military capabilities as being weaker than they were.
Interesting, because you wonder if that story would get out the same way as we've all been reporting it, because it's been big news here, and the details are out there. Catherine, thank you. Great to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.